How does one man become a hero on two continents? And how does a single revolutionary without a kingdom of its own fight for the freedom of two nations against overwhelming odds? Andrei Tadeusz Kościuszko is remembered not only as a brilliant military strategist but also as a defender of liberty who believed that all people, regardless of class or race, deserved freedom. But what made him such an important historical figure? And how did his actions influence the revolution of its time? Tadeusz Kościuszko was born in 1746 in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, a vast but politically unstable state. He came from a family of minor nobility, but his upbringing was not particularly wealthy. His family had military connections, and from an early age he displayed a strong interest in both military strategy and the arts. At the Warsaw Corps of Cadets, an elite military school, Kościuszko quickly distinguished himself in engineering, fortifications and leadership. His talent earned him a scholarship to study in France, where he was exposed to both military science and the Enlightenment ideals that would shape his worldview. He studied at the Royal Academy of Painting and Sculpture in Paris and took part in military training, learning from some of the most advanced strategists of his time. His exposure to thinkers like Rousseau and Montesquieu inspired his belief in democracy, equality, and resistance to oppression. While Kościuszko was abroad, Poland faced increasing threats from its powerful neighbors, Russia, Prussia, and Austria. As the country fell into crisis, he looked for ways to put his skills to use. However, his first opportunity would not be in Poland, but across the Atlantic. When the American colonies rebelled against British rule in 1775, Kościuszko traveled to North America and offered his services to the Continental Army, where his skills as a military engineer became invaluable. One of his greatest contributions was designing the defensive fortifications at West Point, a strategic fortress on the Hudson River. These defensives were so well planned that the site later became the United States Military Academy. Kościuszko also played a key role at the Battle of Saratoga in 1777, where his fortifications created an extensive network of defensive earthworks that forced the British into an impossible position. His defensive structures helped slow down the British advance and disrupted their supply lines. It allowed the American forces to launch coordinated attacks, and ultimately leading to the surrender of the British forces. This major victory convinced France, Spain, and the Dutch Republic to formally support the American cause, shifting the balance of the war. Without Kościuszko's engineering expertise, the outcome could have been very differently. For his exceptional service in the American Revolution, Kościuszko was awarded the Order of Cincinnati, a prestigious military decoration given to distinguished officers in the Continental Army. His contributions to the war effort earned him a deep respect from the American leaders, particularly George Washington, with whom he shared a strong friendship based on mutual admiration and the ideals of liberty. After the American victory, Kościuszko returned home, hoping to use his experience to defend Poland. However, he found his homeland in turmoil. The partitions of Poland had begun, with Russia, Prussia, and Austria dividing the country's territory. In 1794, he led the Kościuszko Uprising, an attempt to resist the foreign powers controlling Poland. At the Battle of Radzawice, he personally led around 7,000 Polish troops, many of them peasants, armed only with scythes, against a 10,000-strong Russian force, equipped with artillery and cavalry. Despite the odds, Kościuszko's strategic use of terrain and aggressive tactics helped secure a victory, proving that Poland's resistance was far from over. However, the rebellion was ultimately crushed, and Poland's situation only worsened. Despite his early victories, Kościuszko was eventually captured by the Russians. He was imprisoned in St. Petersburg, but in 1796 he was released by the new Russian ruler, Emperor Paul I, who sought to distance himself from the harsh policies of his predecessors, Catherine the Great. As part of his broader political reforms, Paul granted Kościuszko amnesty in an effort to improve relations with Poland and weaken the influence of Russia's enemies in the region, under the condition that he would never again lead a revolt against Russia. Though exiled, he remained a committed advocate for liberty. He was offered positions in the French and Russian armies, but refused to serve under any regime that contradicted his principles. He became an influential supporter of democratic movements in Europe and even inspired Thomas Jefferson, who called him the purest son of liberty I have ever known. Perhaps one of his most remarkable contributions was his dedication to the fight against slavery. In his will, he allocated his earnings from America to fund the education and emancipation of enslaved African Americans. However, due to legal disputes and bureaucratic obstacles, his wishes were never fully implemented, leaving his vision of justice unfulfilled. Kościuszko's legacy extended beyond Poland and the United States. In recognition of his efforts, he was honored with several awards, including the Virtuti Militari, Poland's highest military decoration for valor. He was also recognized by France, which awarded him honorary citizenship for his commitment to revolutionary ideals. His influence reached far and wide, inspiring future generations of freedom fighters and military leaders. Tadeusz Kościuszko dedicated his life to the fight for liberty, whether in America, Poland, or beyond. He played a pivotal role in fortifying West Point, designed critical defensive that led to victory at Saratoga, and led an armed uprising against foreign domination in Poland. His name lives on in cities, monuments, and military institutions around the world. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. What other interesting figures of history do you want to know more about? Let us know in the comments. And as always, this is HistoryCrafts, where history crafts itself.